These are like meetings. I said, no.
So I'm Richmond Fall, business account manager with Nebraska VR and current chairperson.
Brandon Smith, operations supervisor at Omaha Public Schools.
Tammy Jensen, City of Council Bluffs.
Melanie Davis, Mineral Miner Institute advocate. And patriarchy.
Tammy Bradley, Florence Home Transit Coordinator.
Corey Hale, Community Alliance Business Employer Liaison.
Shannon Bressler, the Community Alliance and Employment Specialist.
Amanda Parker, City of Bellevue.
Michael Blank, transition planner MAPA.
Court Barber, Transportation Planner with MAPA.
August 14th, so. See, 1, 2, 3. We got 4.
Yep. You fine.
Right? All right, so we need to go through and do some approval of the minutes. Thanks to Ford and Michael that printed all these. So we're looking at April 17th. I know we've asked this a few different, oh, we didn't do interruptions.
Online.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
all right, folks.
Mark with Southwest Iowa Training, we're planning in transit.
Kaylee Stanley, City of La Vista.
Jesse Hubbard, City of Papillion.
Stephanie Torres Chan, Heartland Workforce Solutions.
Carlos Morales, Transportation and Data Manager, MAPA.
Cool. All right, that is the group. So let's go into the minutes. Like I was saying, I know that we've asked for revisions a couple different times. But we look at April 17th, were there any revisions or updates to those meetings, meeting notes? All right. So then we'll look at June 12th and see if there was any revisions, edits to those meeting notes. Okay. And then lastly, July 17th. Does anybody have any revisions or comments, notes, anything like that on those minutes? All right. But I would like to note that the attendance piece, we're trying to do a better job of making that as transparent as possible within the meeting notes. So I guess if we can, I'll maybe take an extra moment to pause to make everybody or allow everybody the opportunity to go through the attendance piece and make sure that your names are on there and everything is good.
I was here at the last meeting. July.
No, we don't have that. All right, we can, whenever the motion is made, just make a motion set to include that adjustment. And we will. I'll make that change and repost it on the website.
Thank you.
Would it make sense to maybe have past sign-in sheets? You know, the last however many that we're going through.
So I could, we scan them in every time, I could like attach them to the minutes file each time. And then be part of the minutes kind of attached to them. We haven't done that in the past, but I can.
Yeah, because last time we didn't have the sign-in sheet because you couldn't get into the room because there was somebody in here.
Right. Yeah.
So you couldn't print the stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, if that's possible.
Yeah, that's on.
I just think for one, just going forward, that way there's no question.
Yeah.
On the July minutes, do we need to identify the person sitting in blue next to me?
Oh, so I thought that when I went through it, I thought I found all of those. It was,
Oh, I printed them off the website, I didn't grab the version.
Well, the one on the website should have been most up to date. Yeah, I thought I went through and filled all of that in, but maybe that one I wasn't sure about.
There was somebody online that you mentioned.
Right. One sec.
Oh, that was Vicky.
Was it? I don't, like Vicky Quinn Terrace? don't
I
so.
think Vicky was sitting to my right.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't remember who was sitting to my left, who would have been probably the person.
yeah. I don't know.
I'm trying to read it in my brain, cause. You were, I didn't mention, do you remember who would have been to, cause there was also the city of La Vista.
Because I was sitting there last time, somebody over here.
No, I think Lavista was online last.
So it was whoever was sitting where Melanie was sitting,
Yeah,
Yeah,
last, because I think I was sitting second. Vicky was sitting where you're sitting. If I remember.
That might be me.
Who's that?
This is Vicky. That might be me that you're referring to, I'm thinking.
I'm thinking it was
I'm
Vicky.
thinking that's what it was,
Yeah. Yeah, I guess it may have been,
because Vicky was.
because she's elsewhere in the notes.
Cause I remember talking about who her proxy would be.
Yeah,
Mhm.
all right, I can make that adjustment as well. So
I mean, you do have her on the sheet.
Well. Vicky seconded that motion, and the person who voted to approve was in the blue. So it couldn't have been, Vicky couldn't have, moved and seconded.
Did you write down who moved and seconded that first motion?
I don't have that with me right now.
I mean,
Sign it, sorry about that. Elsewhere. I will say that it's not absolutely critical. We don't know who it was. We can't, then the minutes should reflect what we are aware of. If I can figure it out, I could have it, but, yeah, if nobody knows for certain who it was that was speaking, I would say, if we got somebody to chat. Oh, okay, yeah, that's fine. But yeah, that shouldn't prevent us necessarily from approving this. As long as everything's, for the most part captured and it's not critical to know, exactly who that person was, then we can move forward, but I can take a look, because I think we have a video recording, then I might be able to figure it out. Yeah. But I think when I was putting these together, I knew who it was, because I believe there were references to that person throughout the rest of the document, but I changed those, but I must have missed one. So I think we knew who it was when I was putting it together, but now I don't remember.
So I see where we noted the person sitting next to Tammy. I was wondering where you're getting it from. Yeah, did you already noted that?
Who was here from Pavilion last time? Brenda Sears, is that right? Who's on, there's somebody on from Pavilion right now?
yeah, there's someone,
Yes, I am, Jesse.
Jesse, were you here last time, or was it somebody else from Pavilion?
I wasn't, it would have been someone else. It would have either been Donna or Tracy.
I mean, we may have marks, but could it, I guess it could have been the person from Pavilion. Because whoever was here from Pavilion was sitting over there.
I'll have to check the recording.
Yeah.
Who would have been the person sitting where Melanie is sitting? Cause I was sitting in
Oh,
the
okay.
empty chair,
It
and I
might-
think Vicky was to my right,
Well,
where.
yeah, I'll have to see, if we have video recording, I can make the adjustment.
And if this person is sitting in blue, the video,
Then that's
That's
what we're
it.
talking about. Okay.
Well, I wouldn't have had it on here.
Not necessarily. Not specifically, well, no. But I'll have to double check. I don't know, I can't say anymore. The other option is we can approve, April and June and hold July for next month. It's kind of up to the committee.
Let's just hold up on that one.
That's fine, yeah.
Yeah, we'll wait on July 17th. So would somebody like to motion to approve, April 17th and June 12th?
as amended.
As amended. Yeah. Oh, you're saying yes.
Oh, no, I'm wondering if they're gonna be approved as amended
Oh,
with the corrections as amended.
Well, April and June didn't have any issues, was my understanding.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
because I wanted to exclude the July until we did some
Yeah.
research.
I know like 2 corrections that need to be done for July.
Yeah, we need to add Tammy and we need to, figure out who the
Yeah.
person who moves.
We're putting the July 17th off, so right now we just need to approve the April 17th and June 12th.
The June meeting minutes did have some changes noted in the July meeting minutes.
Yes, and it
So
should have been,
They should have been fixed.
so
by
any
now.
of those, any of the issues that were noted last month for the June minutes, because we didn't approve April or June last month. We approved
February, March.
February and March, yeah. The corrections that were requested last month at the meeting have been made to the April and June minutes, so those. As they are presented now, they should be accurate, unless somebody sees a new issue with either of those, in which case, please bring those up and we will make those corrections for the next. Or you can approve the minutes with those changes, if there are any to April and June, but otherwise, we're gonna hold July, which are the only corrections that I have noted right now.
I move to approve the April and June minutes.
Would somebody like to second?
I'll second.
All right. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Anyone sustained? Approved.
Okay.
So we will wait on July 17th. All right, so election of officers for MAPA's fiscal year 2025. You can nominate yourself or another member. Is there anybody that would like to nominate either their self or someone else?
So we'll say this is for chair seat 1, we'll do this twice. We'll do it once for chair seat 1 and once for chair seat 2. And then we'll basically go through the procedure where there'll be the nomination. And then the person who is nominated will accept the nomination, and then we can, and then any other nominees can be made that same procedure until there's no more nominees, and then we'll close.
So someone could nominate Rich.
Someone could do that right now.
Like if I were right now to nominate
Which
Rich.
is say not, right, yeah.
I hereby nominate Rich.
All right, we have one nomination currently.
I nominate Rich.
I have another nomination for Rich.
Same.
Well,
We'll also nominate Rich.
I nominate Ellen.
well,
But we have to go through chair 1 and then we go to chair
Right.
2.
then we go to chair.
So you're trying to kick yourself off chair
I'm
1.
really not, I'm just,
And there's no,
In my-
there's
in
not
my-
actually a difference.
in my mind, she's worthy and I want to acknowledge that.
So I can say I nominate Melanie as well for the second chair, or we still?
Oh, that's right.
Okay.
Let's do one at a time.
It's just
So right now we have a nomination for Rich. Are there any other nominations for chair position one? Well, I guess we do. We have 2 nominations. We have one for Rich, one for Melanie. I think you can call for a vote.
You do this part. It's weird.
Well, I mean, I guess, no,
Okay,
you're currently, I mean, technically you're acting chairs right now.
sure.
You want me to call for the vote?
I think the chairs have to call for the vote.
All right, so let's go, so do they go, is it a quantity, like, or is it, this is where like.
Yeah, so whoever basically the first.
Can I pause for a second?
Yep.
So next time we do this, I would advise on these slides, maybe we detail that because I think Rich and I are a little confused on how this works.
Sure.
Just a pause, go ahead.
So basically what'll happen now is Rich was the first nominee. You were nominated first, so everybody will now vote as to whether Rich should be chair.
And to be clear, everyone can vote, for everyone who's a voting member can vote.
Yeah, everybody in the room has voted.
Got
Alright.
So then basically, I mean, we can just go around to the voting members that are around the table and we can just, cause we probably should do the roll call style.
Yeah.
So
So I'm gonna sustain, right,
abstain,
abstain.
that's fine. You may vote for yourself, it's fine.
That's weird.
It's not that weird.
Community alliance.
Votes for Richmond Falls.
Mark's fine.
Vote for Richmond Falls.
City council votes for Rich McFall for first coaching.
You're gonna abstain
Abstain.
and vote.
Rich, for sure.
Okay, so now, because everybody, basically Rich wins because everybody voted for Rich. Melanie can't win at this point. But then we will now do it for, now we're taking nominations for the second chair, co-chair.
So could I nominate Melanie?
I nominate Melanie.
I nominate Melanie. Melanie.
You don't all have to nominate, one nomination is sufficient.
Okay.
I want to hear it.
More nominations are.
One of us nominate you.
I don't think I'm allowed, I'm not a member of the committee. I'm just I'm a staff liaison. But I will chair by default, based on the bylaws, if neither of you are here. All right, so we have one nomination, one nominee currently. Any other nominees?
Does anybody themselves want to?
They don't want another voting, so I'm good out of this.
All right, you want to talk about a roll call vote?
Yeah, let's go ahead and vote.
Let's start, I'll just start with your community alliance.
No.
Melanie.
Melanie Davis.
And vote.
Melanie.
All right, there we go, we did it. You are officially the chair for another year. Oh, okay, and it actually automatically forwards.
Oh,
on my,
okay.
so it is pretty easy for me to just go back to that record. So
Okay.
they automatically sign it. It's very- Yeah, that is important, the list is on there. Okay,
Just to confirm, we both.
oh, that's right, I didn't actually have you accept that.
No choice.
We should have done that. It's not, I don't think it's technically part of the officer selection rules, but I think it feels bad to just nominate somebody and not have them accept it. So that's how we've been doing it at TTAC.
So do you accept to work with me again? Yeah.
So, for one, thank you to everybody. I also think this is noteworthy to, what we were talking about the last meeting and maybe practicing some of the Robert's rule stuff and kind of.
Yeah, and I did start asking around internally about if we have anything that we like to use for our board, but I don't have information yet, but I was starting to look at some different, some of the shorthand guides, because I could get the whole book on Robert's rules, but I think that would probably be too much, probably just need
There might be, I may have access to some, I guess. Easier broken down Robert's rules that I use with people that I work with.
Okay.
On advocacy
I think
skills.
that would probably be, yeah, that'd be helpful, yeah. Okay.
Oh, I have something. For the first dot share, I found those.
Oh, okay.
However, my brain does not compute when it comes to that. So you're welcome to keep it and to maybe see what you think, but there was the cheat sheet on this one. I remember I asked Travis to print this out for everybody when we went through that. I don't think anybody really considered himself as an expert to really, I think we just collected the document and moved forward. But I struggle processing all that, so if somebody can interpret that, they're more than welcome.
Oh, sure, yeah, well, I think that's the thing, is the cheat sheet is good, but only if you really understand what at least the basic rules are behind it, because there are.
I'm pretty sure I can get access to some user friendly stuff.
Okay. Yep.
It might give me a minute.
Yeah, that works. All right.
All right, so discussion items, are we?
Yeah, we're ready to move on.
Okay, so ongoing regional public transportation service discussion.
So I don't really have, I don't have anything to really touch on here, and the next item on the agenda is kind of an output of that conversation. We want to talk about MAPA's website. But if someone does want to bring up a particular issue right now outside of the website review, we can talk about that, but.
I think I do. I kind of was talking about it before the meeting started, but I think all of you in here need to hear this because it's happening to me, but it's happening to a lot of people. Prior to coming into this meeting today, I was on my 5th or 6th phone call for myself personally to get to a doctor appointment on Monday because I just found out that my normal transportation is no longer viable for that appointment. It is way outside of bus route. So there are no providers that can get me out there. Just be aware that all of our medical stuff is being pushed so far out west. So many people are not getting access to medical care. It's concerning to me. Yeah, just be aware of that. I called at least 5 to 6 different providers. I was quoted or price quoted about $150 to get from my house to my doctor, and I only go there once a year. That's just not in anyone's budget. So we have to do something about this. I don't know what. Court and I were talking. Some of this stuff is done in ways that we can't keep up with, right? So.
And what is because I can't remember exactly, but the limitations to Moe, it's within so many.
3/4 of a mile of the closest bus stop.
Yeah, fixed route service specifically. So express routes don't count. Correct. Yeah, only the regularly running.
And we've had that discussion about express routes before, so. On top of that, there are some providers that I could potentially get. But I want you to know, some of the providers that exist in our area do not have enough room for me to take my service animal. I don't feel like it's right that I have to sacrifice a device just to get where I want to go. It's a worthy thing for you all to be aware of this happening.
I know that this isn't a solution for Melanie, but it might be worth the group hearing from somebody on able accounts that can use that money for transportation needs that doesn't impact their benefits. And I know you and I have chatted about benefits and whatnot, but there's an age requirement that you have to have it documented before age.
I think it's 45 now.
I thought it was 26, 27. It's okay difference. Because last time I looked is that if you had it medically documented before the age of whatever, then they would acknowledge that, because I even looked for myself because, I mean, I'm sure like going back, there might be something, but it's not an easy proof to get to that, but it helps the financial stuff of living expenses, transportation expenses, and also helps with your retirement. That way you're not in jeopardy of losing any of your benefits because of, so an able account takes over essentially all of your 401ks and whatever in addition to.
I think before that, what might be helpful to this committee is to really understand, because there are transportation benefits built into a lot of people's state Medicaid services, for example, and that's kind of one of the issues I'm dealing with. I'm no longer eligible for that. But I think it might be helpful if we could find someone who could maybe even just explain what the service is, so people understand the local, I guess, complexity around that transportation service, because it's very complex. It's way more complex than what Metro offers. So.
And how does that work with the 100% compliance? Is that just because it's outside of the transit area? Yeah. Okay. Does anybody have any suggestions?
Another piece that we could, another avenue we could go down is, I mean, we could talk to the city of Omaha about kind of like their permitting procedure when it comes to you know, like a healthcare provider is, you know, asking for site review somewhere out west. If this kind of thing is brought up, you know, that if transportation service is brought up during that review, is Metro plugged in on that? Yeah.
And Clay too reviews all of the.
That's what I thought.
Development.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, but the kind of the issue there is, even if Metro was to say, hey, we don't serve this area and you might have trouble, you know, getting like some of your patients out there because they're not going to have the service that they're used to at your current location. They might just shrug and say, well, that's too bad, we're gonna have to figure out a way how to get out here. That's the reality of the situation.
I will say, in addition to that, I've heard from a couple other individuals that I help. There is a large provider in our area. In fact, they service a large portion of the state for wheelchair repair. And they have a walk-in clinic for like if you need brakes tightened, you need screws replaced and all of that. They are moving their office way outside of Metro's range. So all of these individuals who utilize wheelchairs for mobility are going to miss out on that service. I've heard from multiple people about this. It's very concerning. So just know that these huge essential services are being pushed outside of ranges people can get to.
And I would say that this is getting into the realm of needing lawmakers to address the problem. This is a point where, like, if this is something that needs to be addressed, really the only people who can address it is write a law saying that if, you know, you're not providing or if there's not transportation services for a population that basically requires your service, that you're gonna have to come up with some kind of plan to get people to this building. That does not exist in this area presently. There's nothing in the state, there's no city ordinance about this. Exactly how this would be tackled, I don't know.
Like I said, you know, I wanted to bring this all to your guys' attention. Right. It's a big issue, huge issue.
Like, you can't really tell somebody where to have their business though, right?
Well,
Like,
not presently, no, yeah, right, but that's kind of That
especially
is
in
the
that
issue.
using.
Right, that is the issue.
It feels, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, that it'd be more of a transportation issue, like expanding the boundaries rather than
But
telling
that's,
people
That's
where
what
they
they're
can
saying
open
right
their
now, they
businesses
are,
or-
Metro is bound by federal things.
federal and state, yeah, there's
Yeah.
federal, state, and I don't know about local, I don't know if there's
I
any.
mean, right now, we would have to take service from somewhere in
Right.
order to move service.
Got it.
So it would be taking away in order to.
So there are potential other solutions.
Yeah,
They're also legislative, because there's.
For sure,
there's
yeah.
Basically, the state, there's state caps on what Metro can and can't do. So that's either way, one avenue might be that the CTC, I mean, if the CTC wanted to write a letter, contact a state representative or city council, that kind of thing, that would be a.
What about the board of the health systems, like, couldn't we pull together information that says like, this is the impact of decisions that don't consider transportation challenges? Like,
I'm gonna
I
take
don't know
off
whether you
my
want
hat
to.
for a second, and I say, while I do support what you're saying, I would have to be very careful as I work for UNFC. So I would have to be very careful on what we put in letters like that, but I'm happy to sit in the discussion of it.
Sure.
I don't know why they would wanna move their business outside of,
They don't, because most people don't understand there's a limit on busing. They don't
like,
know.
they're not even, it's not even
It's not
a
even
wheelhouse that they're even thinking
Right.
about.
People have no idea that I can't get to them, like when I
Yeah.
call and say I
Okay.
can't look transportation to get to
So
my job.
even just
Even just getting,
education for them,
that would be a start too.
yeah.
I mean, UNMC has the Travel Smart program and things like that. I've sat in meetings with them and a lot of times they don't know either, right?
But
So,
There's also the mayor's, like,
Commission on Citizens with Disabilities,
yeah,
I've been to those.
okay, what about the city of Omaha Human Rights and Relations?
I've presented to them a couple of years ago. I don't know,
Well, where-
I don't know if they're still a thing, I still think.
Yeah,
well, that's the department. Kaylin is the head of the department, and she also is the liaison for this disabilities commission.
I actually just emailed her today, which is where. But I guess ultimately they would know too.
But I do like some idea of like education of these health systems, like they don't understand what's happening.
yeah, I'm gonna move my wheelchair repair shop somewhere where wheelchairs, people utilizing wheelchairs can't get to me. But that should probably be a concern of theirs.
Yeah.
I just.
So I'm gonna put a plug, I know you and I have had this conversation, but I'm gonna put a plug in there for Nebraska VR. But if somebody was able to drive themselves with a driver's license, VR can pay for vehicle modifications to get that person able to employment, which would then help with the medical side, but I know, we've had that conversation, but just putting the plug out there that voc rehab could also help when it's employment related.
And just for you and use all knowledge, it is possible to rent a wheelchair accessible van for a day or two or a vacation or whatever. The average cost is anywhere from $400 to $600, and so I don't know a lot of people that do that. So
Per day. Yeah, I think so. Okay, well, I do think that is something for us to continue talking about. Maybe inviting some speakers or whatever we can try to do on that piece. Any final comments or anything on that subject?
anyone wants to give me a free ride Monday,
I'll talk to,
I know that he was offering.
I'll talk to Rebecca, so I told you to, we can do, I'll give you just some number and we'll talk later.
Because I'm even thinking that there's a retirement, I know you guys do it too, but there's another one that is, I'll just say on Dodge. That they have their own systems too, or maybe we
A
can.
lot of times they're bound by liability insurance, and that's what I'm running into.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna have to check.
Well, I've had one tell me that if an employee or a potential employee lives on the route that the bus is already taking, that they have no shame in picking that person up and running them for at the site. Yes. The other thing I know, I emailed these two about it before, but we were previously talking about the United Way and some 211 stuff. I think, you know, I at least could learn a lot from that. And they do that for the writing or the information line is, I've never called 211, so.
Could clarify what you're asking, I mean,
How does the United Way help with transportation?
the only thing I know, and if other people know things, great. I've listened to a presentation, I know that they have a program where, they'll give you like credits for Lyft, I believe it is, for certain things. Now, for those of us who use mobility devices, Lyft and Uber is not an option. So oftentimes I've worked with individuals who call 211 because they've heard about this credit with Lyft and they can't use it because it's not accessible. It's good for those who maybe have kids or, you know, just don't have driving capabilities, but it's not for mobility impacted.
I've received several calls from people that have called 211 and have not been able to get through.
I remember
So
that
I've
was,
heard that too.
that was a topic we had maybe a year or so ago. Just as there was a disconnect there.
I've also heard that, and I don't know why, but 211 is often sending people to MMI because they think that MMI is 211, and I don't know how that disconnection is happening, but we don't do that over at Meyer, so. Not at all. My office has a phone that rings constantly for these things.
Another one that I'd be kind of curious of is, you know, when you're planning a future Moby trip, maybe we do that during a meeting and have it on speaker. I'm just kind of hearing what something like that takes.
I have one I need to schedule for tomorrow, so I'm happy to do it.
Okay, well, if there's time, I'm all for that. I know we were also talking about maybe coordinating something of the committee being able to visually see what it's like to get on or off, whatever you guys kind of decide on the movie piece. I found it interesting and helpful. I feel like somebody might enjoy it as well.
I don't know how possible it is, but I know how utilized movie is, but almost a ride along with movie as well. I feel like something like that would be, it's totally different than a fixed route system.
Somebody can be your plus one.
Yeah.
So if that's an option for anybody.
I have a bus for me for my entire day if you want.
All right, any other topics for discussion? All right, then let's move forward to MAPA's website. I know me personally, I have my own story related to the website. It was when I was emailing my team about the fare capping. When I went to the UMO section of the website, when you scroll down, there's little boxes that like it wouldn't have the header fare capping. And when you click on that, it expands. And the text that is there is not selectable because I was going to copy and paste it to an email. It would not allow that. I actually had to type all the words from there in order to get it over. Just because every time I went to go click on it, it would minimize and disappear. So it wouldn't even let me do any of it. So I guess I'm making an assumption here, but I know for one, just that piece is not, it could evolve. But also if the website doesn't have it coded as text, then a screen reader or other devices aren't going to be able to read that. So that was my number one from my own experience, where I know some on the committee have shared their own knowledge and piece on that. Does anybody else have any?
I have two on it, one is,
This is Metro website, not MAPA website.
Correct.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
So, and we may wanna set aside a day to talk about Metro's website.
Yeah, there is a difference.
I would like to talk about Maps.
Okay,
but with the MAPA website, I would say, what I run into with individuals who I'm working with is kind of what's the value add, right? What is the reason to go to MAPA's when they're looking for transportation because they don't feel like they're getting anything out of it? Giving them a list of organizations that they've probably already called, or they already know this can help them. So we need to talk about what's the value add of your website versus something else, versus calling 211 versus something other than that. That's, I think, my thing with MAPA.
Yeah, for the most part, we're just basically redirecting to those resources, like we don't have any, like, we don't maintain any of the resources like that. But there is other information that we have, but it's.
And I think maybe we need to highlight that and give that a value versus something else.
So most of what we have on our website is going to be ways for the public to, I guess, plug in on the regional planning process. So if you wanted to, to be able to provide the CTC with, if you're a member of the public, and you wanted to be able to provide the CTC with an issue that you have, that then our website that would be something that you could go to our website for. But as far as getting the services that you need, that wouldn't be something to use MAPA's website for. The other piece is for people who are on the CTC, particularly if you're a recipient of 5310 funds or any kind of grant funding through MAPA, and if you need to be able to find information on MAPA's website, we also like comments about that. So if there's stuff that you'd like to see on the website that we don't have on there now, and then also general comments about accessibility, because that's something that we want to make sure that we're addressing on the website, because if members of the public are getting on there and anybody who has any kind of impairment isn't, or if you just, don't speak English, a lot of our services are, an ability to kind of connect with regional planning is limited if we're not, if the website's not really conducive to accessibility and understandability.
I guess this is just, I would suggest, and I'm not, it's all of accessibility here, but what you're reading online for accessibility of websites is not, that's your minimum, okay? And what I'm finding is now, since we've had the pandemic and all of the discussions around how inaccessible websites have been, I would suggest almost developing a panel of users with disabilities and how does this website work for you? Because the minimum is not everything. I myself use software to read and process and organize. And I just don't use it on your website because it's too complicated. It's just, it won't make sense to me, so.
and what I mentioned before was the 508 compliance is for digital material. Because this isn't necessarily accessibility related, but the one thing I generally go to the MAPA website is for the transit plan that we came up with. For the life of me, that will take me like 5-10 minutes to try to find.
I agree.
I like to talk about that, especially when I'm meeting with employers, of kind of showing those gaps in transportation related to their place of business and the aging population, the disability population, the food deserts, or whatever that term is. I almost think that should be first of the website.
And I think it should be something you should be proud of, that you have this.
Yeah.
And- Yeah.
Like. I think that's the number one, because it's something I carry in my bag all the time on the printed copy. But I've even been involved with like Amazon's like corporate people, sending them screenshots of it and sharing it with them and trying to kind of evolve and trying to find that was even the search I struggled. It could be me,
Oh, no, sure.
but I just think we put so much time and effort into that and constantly go through it. I think that should be. Any other comments on that?
And we'll take any recommendation, if you wanna shoot me a recommendation in an email, or if you have questions about how to find stuff on that website, you know, one thing. But we're gonna be doing some kind of website redevelopment. Probably near
Just
future.
a question, do you have a contact for the accessibility piece? Are you using a software? What is do you have an idea how that's gonna work for the accessibility?
I don't think we do. No, it's our communications and outreach department will be handling it, but we're also in the middle of updating our civil rights and Title VI plan. So I think some of the recommendations that come out of that will then help to inform how we update the website. So no, we don't. So that, yeah, that's like any kind of, honestly, I think the panel of users with disabilities, I think that makes a lot of sense. People want to engage.
And I strongly encourage you to look at, and I'm gonna use a completely different term than what you see online. I strongly encourage accessible language, not just plain language, but accessible language, because using the term plain language and lay language can be offensive to those individuals with disabilities, because all we're looking for is accessible. So when you're talking about language usage, just make sure you say accessible.
Okay.
Report, I can send a couple resources for what
That would be fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and anything that would help us kind of get started, because I don't really know where to look. So, you know, I can't really inform CNO about this kind of thing.
I do a lot of accessible language, and I know a lot about accessible documents, so that in itself.
And you could also reach out to the Commission for the Blind and Visually Impaired to make sure that their clientele is also,
I would also recommend the Commission for Deaf and Hard of Hearing.
both commissions, yeah.
Very much so.
Because the only disability we don't directly work with is the visual. We do have really any other disability other than that. And the reason for that is that the state of Nebraska has decided to split that. And if somebody does have visual impairments, it's in their favor to go work with NCBVI for funding, which is the Commission for Blind and Visually.
I just met him last week. He's the district supervisor for the Commission for the Blind, so I can connect you.
Yeah, to Jefferson.
I also work with someone over there too, so if you're running into struggles, you know, Amy Barish. So.
And he also is somebody that has visual impairments. You can share his piece here.
And I'm pretty good friends with the statewide ADA coordinator, Gloria, and wanted to talk to her for any reason, so.
Any other things to add for the website, the MAPA website?
Correct, I just sent you an email, but the extension for MOBI on the mobility resource guide is not correct. So I'll just put
Okay.
that, and then you can't download the PDF. It just takes you back to this website.
Oh, okay. Yeah. We'll get that fixed. All right, and then I think the other things that we had kind of on the list to review were primarily metro related items. So we were still talking about the MOBI application, which I think we went through at one point, but we still need a way to provide metro comment. And then if we want to talk about Metro's website, I don't necessarily want to step on, you know, the toes of your own tack or anything like that, but, if that's something that you would find helpful that this body could do, basically similar to this.
Yeah.
Then, we can, but if that's something that you want to kind of leave up to your own tack, that would be fine too.
I'm always happy to pass on feedback and.
Okay, well, I guess we'll kind of talk about it and decide if this committee wants to go through, Metro's website as well.
I would just ask that we put effort into looking at it as a group one time. That way we're not having to email her once a week as, you know, she's trying to get through something. Or even if we need to screen share for however many minutes, I think being a once and done, or at least a group of it at once would be appropriate. Any other additional business?
I don't think so. No, just the, upcoming events.
I know we also talked about doing another field trip, doesn't really give it justice, but do we want to do something like that again? And because I know we were talking about it in our check-in about possibly asking TTAC to participate, or at least allow them the option to participate before next going to the next step of any government or lawmakers or anything. Have that be a future process. So does anybody have any thoughts or comments on doing another bus activity?
I mean, I'm willing to do it, I think, but winter is gonna be a rough, we're looking at winter. Winter would be when I would almost advise we try to do a Moby one, so they can see that.
Yeah.
I know I would not be able to participate in the winter on a fixed route at all, so.
Oh, sure.
Well, kind of my timeline that I was thinking is not necessarily this year, because I think the heat is also a limiter in my opinion. But I would say maybe if we wanted to put something on the calendar like March.
Yeah.
And get that kind of scheduled in advance for CTC members, TTAC, MAPA, Metro, anybody that
We can start looking at late or early spring
we get that out of the way.
and talking about that. Yeah, and it might be that, yeah, we just have to bring it up a few times with CTAC and say, hey, love if you come take a ride.
Cause in my mind, just thinking, you know, like March-ish for that one. And then if we wanted to do something more, you know, early fall,
Yeah,
we could do something on the next, yeah.
sure. Yeah. And then I guess, yeah, and it might be beneficial. I don't know exactly how closely. So I know some members of CTC work for organizations and jurisdictions that have TTAC members as well. And I don't know if that's a conversation that folks would want to have. I don't know if you can convince Matt to get on a bus, but. But that's kind of what I'm trying to get, you know, all the municipal providers, you know, that you know, members that are on TTAC as well. So I don't know if that's a conversation we want to have, you know, separately, but I mean, that would be one way to make that happen if we did want to try to get TTAC on a ride.
Well, my thoughts on inviting TTAC was honestly just doing kind of due diligence of making sure that if we're gonna invite elected officials or lawmakers and let's say something went dramatically wrong, I want to know before we get to that moment on what can be improved or any of that future stuff.
Sure.
Allowing those that know more about transportation than I do, to kind of give their opinion before we go up the chain. That was my thinking.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, we can certainly, we can talk about it and start making plans for it if you want to.
We don't want to make it.
Well, TTAC's on Friday. board meets next week, and then the next CTC meeting is scheduled for September 18th. As you know, you probably know, Metro's tearing up their parking lot outside, so we'll keep an eye on that and see where we are in September. We might want to talk about holding this in a different location if there's no significant issue with the parking lot. And, you know, if we decide we just need to cancel it, or if we want to just meet virtually, something like that, we can do that too. We wouldn't be able to vote on anything, but if there wasn't anything major for us to vote on, then probably not a big deal. We can kind of talk about it. I'll make sure that Rich and Ellen here are well informed, and we'll make a decision about how we want to handle the next meeting.
Community Alliance has a lot of large boardrooms that could be
Okay.
used, so.
Okay.
Let me make sure the data's okay, and then my supervisors are okay. I mean, they've encouraged, community use for those rooms in the past.
And I would say it probably houses what, 30? 40?
Depends on which room it is, some are even more,
Cause is the training room the bigger room?
So there's the 3 training rooms, 2 of which are usually open together, and you can even open the 3rd door, so they're all 3, so it could be a mega room, or it could be a medium-ish room. The smaller room is probably this minus that bump out on the back there.
How is it accessible?
Yes.
Yeah.
Let me double check,
It's on 72nd,
So
it used to be
within-
where Alorica was, or.
Melanie, you think you have any issues?
I don't think so, as long as I have the address, I think I
Okay.
remember.
Yeah, it's on 72nd, it's on a bus route. There
It's on
is,
multiple bus routes.
yeah.
It's pretty
It's in a prime location.
Am I thinking it's probably right by?
It's like 72nd and Mercy Road.
Yeah, I know where it is.
Oh,
Cause there's
yeah,
there's a whole parking lot, because it's technically 3 floors. There's a parking lot for the first floor and a parking lot for the second floor. And all of which there's elevators and whatnot on.
Okay, I should be fine.
Yeah, I've been there, and I would say, it should be.
From what it looks like, probably better than actually where I work.
If you want to shoot me an email with specifics when it comes to that, I'm happy to.
Yeah, we'll just kind of have it as a backup in case we need it. I don't, it's kind of tough, we don't always know well ahead of time, but I guess if we could kind of reserve it just in case, then that would be very helpful.
Excellent.
Yeah, I'll send you an email.
Thank you.
Cause the T-TAC on Friday is at UNO
So you wanna?
and hybrid, right?
Yes, yeah, it is hybrid, you can't, it's just kind of the same thing here, you can't vote if you're joining virtually, but we always do have the Zoom for the T-TAC meetings.
On the side note, are you guys familiar with their technology?
And UNO?
Yeah.
I mean, they have projectors.
Oh, it's fancy. It's fancy.
It's fancy.
Let me look and see what we're there. Cause I've been doing that,
If you go to the generation.
231.
Oh, okay, okay.
I think that's the OPPD room.
Yes, it is.
That one's not the most tech savvy.
Okay,
You'll have a tech cart
okay.
and
I'll go over it.
oh, to be honest, like with my other meetings, the OPPD room, not my favorite. I had some tech panics. I'll be in the office that day where I can take it there and see if I can be your standby.
I'll just print the slides off.
Yeah. Well, you can at least share screen, it's the hybrid piece that makes it hard. It's the hybrid piece that makes it hard. And having people will be able to hear virtually without passing the microphone around. Cause it's.
Maybe bring the owl, Carlos, you think that's probably good?
Yeah.
Bring the owl.
That would probably make your life so much simpler.
Okay,
Yeah,
I'll check the owl out, we'll use that,
yeah, then if you do that, then
should be all right.
yeah, Cause it's the room audio, video that's.
Okay.
Alright, so I guess that might help everybody, but we'll see. Was there something else we wanted to bring to ask the opinion of?
If there was, I don't remember.
Oh, I have one more thing. Metro has offered, if anybody wants to get passes to take the bus here for this meeting, Metro will provide passes for that. So for the next
Future meeting.
For future
We
meeting.
hold a meeting here.
If we hold a meeting here in the
We'll
future,
work with,
Right.
Metro to find out what we can do.
yeah, so if you have any interest in that. send
We're
me-
trying to avoid people having.
Yep.
With all the construction.
Yep.
So.
So let me know if you wanna try to take the bus next time. And if you're not sure if you're on a route or need help kind of figuring out what that might look like, let me know and I can help you with that too.
Where's the closest route to Bellevue? South Omaha, probably?
Probably
There's an express route.
There's an
that goes
express
across.
route, but I don't.
Only
think
in the morning.
when you describe- Yeah.
I don't know if she wants to be stuck here all day.
Right.
I can always take one person.
Sometimes it's better than the other. Saying.
There you go.
Yeah.
Could set you up with a little of that.
Like I said, I can always take one person with me on Obi, so we can coordinate that.